Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Nick Reynolds, Steve Harness, and Cousin Brewski. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Take one.
What's up, you bastards? Welcome to the program. This is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve, a la Brewski. Another exciting podcast is forthcoming.
Yes, we're just three convicted felons hosting a podcast every week. I'm trying to draw more mega people into our show. I thought maybe bragging about being felons. That would do the trick. So.
I've been indicted like 60 times. Welcome to the program.
34 times?
Yeah,
That's a weekend for me.
What's up, Brewski?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Just another show, another day. Feeling good today. Sunshine in the Pacific Northwest. Summer pretty much here, I think. We may have a few breaks here and there, but summertime in California and Boston as well so far.
Oh, yes. I mean, we're officially in the summer. We're past June 21st or whatever it is. But, yeah, record heat waves going on around the country, which science tells you is not a coincidence, but your crazy uncle will tell you is a liberal myth. So don't worry. It's not really that hot out. You're fine.
Well, what do you have, a dome right now, Harness? Something called a weather dome or something?
Heat dome.
Heat dome.
It's been slowly moving across the country. And yes, I was just reading a story yesterday about the fact that scientists do not believe that this current heat dome thing is just some random occurrence, that it's due to climate change. But I digress. I don't want to get all political here and try to say
Please don't, dude. Come on. Brewski is warming up in Boston as well, yes?
Oh, yeah. But like I was telling you the other day, actually, we get a little breeze off the water. And that's
the sea breeze coming at you.
breeze.
Yeah, that's right. My wife Rachel asked me last week, she must have listened to the podcast. She said, "Oh, I was just curious, enjoying the talent out there?" And I was like, "Oh, the talent. You're talking about girls in summertime clothes."
Oh.
Yes.
You brought up a couple shows ago the talent that's out there. I kept asking her, are you starting a draft? Like, what talent are you recruiting out there?
Yeah, like I told my wife, it takes talent, dude. I include you in that. I mean, you've been wearing a little less clothes, and I like it. So, yeah, I've been checking out the talent as of late. I welcome summertime with open arms.
Yes. Don't worry, Rachel, Kennedy. Your first round draft picks, baby. You're all good.
That's right.
Hey, we have a website, thevocalminority.net, and social media sites. We post things that you should share.
This show does take pauses and breaks for horniness.
That's the theme of my life. I could argue my entire life has been sent down different sidetracks due to horniness. The blinders that it puts on me often. So.
Yeah, well, you're doing well. So
it is summertime, and one of the phenomenons that always happens, at least at the beginning of the summer, is graduations. High school, college, middle school, elementary, preschool seem to do graduations nowadays, and they all seem to be outside in the blistering warm summer heat.
Oh, that's right. What will you wear to your graduation? Will you wear a wool suit or will you wear shorts? Because it's too damn hot to sit out in a graduation with a lot of time, black asphalt, underneath you, sun frying you. You're literally cooking. In fact, your penis is drooping so much because of the heat that it could become exposed. So wear some shorts to your graduation. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's the upside of heat stroke in the summer. At least your junk is bigger. So
that's right.
My firstborn, Neo, graduated high school a couple of weeks ago, and that was great. And that was a hot event outside there. But my son just graduated. I used the word with air quotes from middle school. I don't recall doing this when we were in middle school. Did you guys have some sort of graduation ceremony after?
Yeah, I had an 8th grade graduation.
You did.
Brewski
did
not.
You?
I didn't. No,
I didn't either. But technically, they call it promotion. It's not graduation. But
yeah,
get it. You're leaving one middle school and you're going on to high school. It's a big chapter of life, so they want to honor it. And so I went to my son's middle school promotion graduation ceremony last week, and I found myself right back in a awkward social situation that kind of ruined the entire festivities for me.
Oh boy,
with children or adults?
Whoa.
That's the problem. It started with kids, and then it became the adults that were the problem, and then it was everyone that was the problem. And I was just sitting there trying to watch my son graduate the 8th grade and surrounded by stress and tension that was wigging me out.
You didn't get sucked into this problem? You remained in Switzerland?
I had to. As you may recall from several episodes back, I had an incident with a middle school kid this year screaming the N-word in my face and challenging me to a fight. And I feel like that was my one get out of jail free, like scream at a middle school kid for the year. So I didn't think I could do it twice.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Are you a sex offender?
No, dude, it was being screamed at by a small child.
So here's how it started. And Nick and Brewski, I sent you a picture of how this all unfolded. So let me describe for the audience. All the kids are out there on the football field. All the parents and family members were all in the bleachers looking out at the football field. Mm-hmm. And what happened was essentially at the base of the bleachers, there's a fence and then there's the football field. So the section where me and my friends and family were sitting and a bunch of people I didn't know, at the bottom of the bleachers, a bunch of teenagers decided to stand at that fence.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So they were essentially standing in front of people that had gotten there and gotten seats in the bleachers. And, you know, the first couple of rows of those bleachers could not see through the teenagers standing there. So just based on the picture you guys are looking at, is this, I don't know, what's your impression of it? Rude kids that is looking for space? Like, what's your first take?
I mean, they're standing right. The crowd is looking at their butts. They're a wall.
Brewski, what would be your take? You're sitting in those bleachers. You're there for your kid's middle school graduation. Are you annoyed with these kids? Do you tell them to move? Do you stand to just get above them? What do you think?
This shows you that it's the old folks sitting down front, because for some reason, old folks always want to sit down front on things like this. They'd be the first person to like walk in to the front seat in the classroom. No, don't do that.
They don't want to break a hip by climbing the
No, but just walk up the stairs and sit 2 or 3 rows back, because then you know no one's going to be in your line of sight. That's what I would
fair, do. But those bleachers were full, so somebody had to sit in the front rows.
Nonetheless, that aside, I would say, hey, down in front, let's go. You know, I'm here to see my kid graduate. Come on.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Very good. So that is how this started. All right. So ceremony starts. These kids, stand there in front of everyone, and the parents in that first row or two, they kind of do the, hey, down in front, guys. Like, we can't see you. Like they were polite, but they were doing that kind of down in front. And one of the kids looked back and kind of laughed and then just looked forward, and you could feel the tension starting to grow at that point. At that point, one of the parents got up and told the kids, like, hey, guys, like you're blocking the view of the people that are here. You can't stand here. No one else is standing on this whole fence. Like, you got to move. These kids refused. The one kid on the far left in the khaki shirt has a hairnet on for some freaking reason. I don't know.
But keep going.
He turns around and he starts staring down the parents. Doesn't say anything, but he's just staring, just shooting lasers and slowly nodding his head up and down, kind of like physically, visually taunting them, right?
Yeah.
At this point, the tension really starts rising, and I could feel it at this point, because it's just like the kid that got in my face screaming the N-word. Like, when a little kid is that disrespectful to parents, your blood starts to boil a little.
They're not a little kid, though. They're a young adult.
They're middle school. Do you consider those young adults? I would consider them kids. High school young adults.
But no. Young adult fiction, like the books that you read and that sort of thing, starts at 6th, 7th grade. So 12, 13 years old.
Does that make it better or worse, though?
I'm saying don't call them a little kid. They are a young adult at that point, and they should know better by then.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it worse, because if you say it's a kid, then people are like, oh, it's just a kid. He doesn't know any better. No, this kid knows that he's doing wrong. He's just being defiant.
Absolutely. So this starts to escalate. So this kid's staring everyone down. There was a dad down in that front row who's there with older people. And this is the kind of dude that I wouldn't mess with. He was a big guy, neck tattoos, big hoop, earring things in. Like, he's seen a hard life based on what I could describe of him. And this one kid is just staring at him. And the dad starts talking to the kid. And I couldn't tell exactly what he was saying, but it was along the lines of, like, don't you freaking stare me down. Like, move. Like, us adults are telling you to move, damn it. And the little dude just kept staring at everyone, and all of those little girls all of these young adult girls, they just wouldn't even turn around. They just pretended like, hear no evil, see no evil.
You're exactly right that when a person of that age has that much disrespect and is taunting me like he might do something or what you gonna do, there is a switch inside of you as a grown man that makes you want to just be like, oh, I'll show you, little boy, what I'll do. You little fucker.
Right. So at this point, the offense to me is all on the kid's side. You've had adults now ask you to move and you are refusing. You're even flipping attitude back at us by staring us down, or even the girls that were just ignoring them. Like, you're not here. I'm just going to look forward. The tension was rising. But at this point, multiple parents now start mouthing off to these kids, and not in a, hey kid, can you get down in front? Like, what the hell are you doing down there? And you better sit down. You better get the F out of the way. Like, we got here early, you little shits. Like, swear words are flying, taunting of these kids. It started feeling very Karen-esque to me all of a sudden, with all of these adults now verbally attacking these children and giving them the same evil eyes back. It's just
not
a
children,
thing.
young adults.
Young adults, yes. These middle school kids, we now have parents, are now actively going back and forth engaging in this whole thing.
Those fuckers deserve it. That's why.
But you have kind of forgotten where you're at. I mean, are we going to fight back here while, you're saying, my kid's graduating, fucking move. Like, your kid's graduating. So let's act appropriate.
Reminded me of those videos where parents get in fights with the umpires at a little league game or something. Like, the parents were getting a little out of control. So at this point, a second parent now goes down and tells these kids in a little more firm voice, but gets up to them, like not screaming from the bleachers, like goes down and tells them, like, guys, you've got to move, okay? You cannot be standing here. Again, the kids completely ignore. Again, the little hairnet kid just starts staring everyone down. And at this point now, half of the adults sitting in these stands, keep in mind, there are kids graduating right now, and everyone in this section is just verbally or visually fighting back and forth.
Oh, the graduation ceremony has started?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Like, people aren't even focused on what kid is walking across the stage. They're now just taunting and fighting with these kids. And there are other parents who I know, my ex-wife was one of them, who are mouthing off to these kids. And the funny thing is we were sitting up high enough that these kids down in front, they weren't blocking our view at all. But all of these parents felt the need to get involved in this little escalation.
So uncomfortable, dude. I mean, it's so uncomfortable for so many different reasons. Is there not a resource officer at this school? Somebody that can officially come and tell them, you guys got to go. You got to move.
It's funny because anyone who's actually a disciplinarian at the school, the principal, the vice principal, the dean of students, as they call them, they're all up on stage.
Yeah.
And all of the teachers, this is the end of school, so the teachers are sitting out there on the field too. And at one point, one teacher does get wind of what's going on, and she comes over and tells the kids, you got to move. And I couldn't tell what the kid said, but the teacher said back to the kid of, listen, I'm an adult. I work here. If I have to get security to escort you off of here, that is what's going to happen. Sit down. If you're going to stay here, squat down on the fence line. Otherwise, move. Kids don't do anything.
Oh, dude.
Don't get security. I'll go with the cops. Yep.
This is this is why I'm not a father, okay? Because I have something inside of me. I would want to start swinging at that point, making an example.
Totally. And again, this dad in the front row with the tattoos and stuff, I just kept thinking, like, he's going to hit this little kid. And I think these parents are going to cheer for him. And listen, the kids definitely started this. They were they were the ones being completely disrespectful. But I really did feel like I was surrounded by Karens that weren't actually affected by this. And again, they're making a scene bigger than what it was. At what point do you realize these are little shits? They're not listening to any of us. 2 parents and 1 teacher have now told them. How big of a scene are you going to make? How much of a distraction from the kids graduating are you going to make? Or like at a concert when some idiot's standing in front of you, you just stand and you accept it.
I understand Brewski's position 100%. I think that this comes down to emotional maturity. It is asking yourselves, like, do I have enough emotional maturity to sit here and be like, you know what? I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'll deal with it maybe after the graduation, but I'm not going to let it take away. There is that switch. I don't judge a person either way for either having that emotional maturity and strength to get through it, or somebody saying, like, fuck that. You guys move. It's so infuriating when they are just acting like they can't hear you.
Because they think that you can't do anything. They'll say stuff like, I'll sue you or I'll have you arrested. You know what? If I'm going to get arrested, by the way, you better damn sure know that you're going to catch at least 1 fist across the face. I'm serious, because if I'm going to get arrested because some kid wants to be a dick to me and that sort of thing, I'm going to make it worth it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If my kid or my wife is pissed off at me because I ruined the graduation, well, so be it. But that's just kind of what it's got to be.
Yeah. Listen, I feel you, Brewski, because I was sitting there not only feeling the awkwardness and the tension, but I kept thinking, like, I should just get up and end this. Like, I'm going to go tell those little fuckers. I'm just going to start pushing them. Like, I had that urge. And like I said, if that one dad started swinging, I wouldn't have begrudged him because they were being disrespectful shits. But Nick's point of emotional maturity, at what point do the adults in the room be adults in the room and just de-escalate the situation?
No, but then you're letting these kids think that they got away with something. And that it's okay to keep doing it going forward.
So it's worth ruining the graduation to stand by that principle?
I think I would try and go.
I'd follow their ass home. That's what I would do. I'd follow their ass home.
Now you're really getting into trouble, dude.
No. And go knock on the door and talk to a parent.
Now you're making an assumption that those are the kind of parents that would give a shit. Because I would argue if you've raised those disrespectful turds, you're probably not a very good parent yourself.
Oh, no, but you know what, though? There are some kids that out in public, they'll do all that sort of stuff there.
Yeah,
but when they get home, it's a whole different world. But then when they're out on the streets, at that point there, everything when they want to tell their parents to fuck off and they can't because they know they'll get the shit kicked out of them by their parents, they take it out on everyone else.
In a perfect scenario, I think I would try to get through it and not ruin the graduation, but at the end, go talk to, maybe take some pictures and at the end, go try and get these kids suspended or, somehow in trouble with school. Right. Maybe you got to do a little summer school now because you're a dick.
Yeah, and some of the parents were kind of shouting, like, whose kids are these? Where are the parents? And no parents were around. But so let me get your take on this, both of you, because now this situation shifts a little where the kids are no longer involved, but I feel like the Karens still are. So some kid comes up on stage, and this group of little turds boo the kid. They must know him and didn't like him. So when he goes across stage, they all boo, which, again, complete disrespectful turds. And that is what finally set that teacher off. Because the teacher had already talked to him, sat back down. Now they just booed a student. So that teacher went running over there and just with that pissed off teacher look, like, she's not joking around, got just red in the face and she escorted them off the field. She got them out of there, gone. And by the way, the whole stands in front of us in my section started cheering for these kids, which is funny. But then everyone else starts looking around, like the kids on the field, because no one else is aware of this. So this whole little section is causing another distraction as other kids are trying to graduate across the stage. So
it's a tough one, dude. I don't know. I'm talking in hindsight what I hope I would do, but I don't know what I would have done if I was there.
Right. So, and then, like I said, this takes another little twist that got even more awkward, in my opinion. So now all of these kids just vacated, and you got a clear line of sight. Some parent, I don't think, had any clue what had been going on. He was further down. When he saw these kids vacate, the parent comes and walks over and he stands where the kids were. And now all of the parents sitting next to me start yelling at him. Hey, down in front, move, sit down.
No patience at this point.
No. And this dad turns around and he's like, hey, screw all of you. Like, my kid's about to walk across the stage. I want to take a picture. Any of you got a frickin' problem with that? And another parent starts mouthing, you should have gotten here earlier. You should have shown up and gotten a better seat. Well, I'm standing right. Like, now these parents are arguing back and forth.
Jeez, dude.
Like, oh, my God.
After graduation, was your son aware that this was going on?
I don't know. He couldn't have been during it. I haven't actually asked him. I need to. Like, did mom tell you this saga? And I'm curious how mom explained
it.
Yeah, because mom was part of the problem. Yes, so Brewski. All right. So now the disrespectful teens are out of the way. Now we got another parent standing there, and parents are arguing in front of everyone. So what's the etiquette there? How do you handle that one?
With the parents, I mean, he shouldn't have come over and stood in front of the people at the fence. I get that his kid's about to walk across the stage, but that guy shouldn't have walked over and stood in front of everybody to take a picture. He could have zoomed in from his phone and then avoid that entire process.
Brewski's going to yell at the adult and the kids. He's going to yell at both of them.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and again, though, in defense of this dad, I think he didn't realize the drama. He just saw a spot up front open up, and he thought he'd go because it was a better shot of the stage. Like, he was blissfully unaware, but immediately was combative. So now I felt like it was Karens arguing with Karens. It was just a Karen festival all of a sudden, and it was awkward as hell.
At this point in my life, anytime I'm at a graduation concert, whatever, I always have a loaded squirt gun, just for these moments. I'll take all you bastards out.
Let me add one final wrinkle here to ponder into this as to how to handle the situation at the moment, and or why I was feeling extra awkward and uncomfortable about this. The ethnicities. You know, when the kid that was screaming the N-word in my face, I pointed out he was a white kid, and that made it weird. I have not pointed out the ethnicity of anyone involved in this, but there was two distinct teams. The Karens, all the parents were all white. The kids and the dad that later stepped in front, they were all Latino. So I felt there was this underlying racial tension sort of going on. Latinos standing their ground, F you, and all the white Karens screaming at the Latinos. Latino dad walks in and there was some weird racial tension where I don't know if that was me being too sensitive to that topic or if that's how we're supposed to be, or if dicks are dicks. Who cares what shade they are, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're supposed to be, but I too feel it more than ever in this country, and I think it's a real thing, and I think it's exactly what the MAGA crowd has stirred up. That, you know, it's like having a invisible disease. Like, you can't tell if I'm a Trumper or not. You can probably get a little bit of a vibe, but I'm white. I just fit in with all the Trumpers. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes from people that are different races, that they'll look back and just see a crowd of Trump lovers. You know, it's just a big white group.
On that point, I actually got into a Twitter discussion about Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, all this sort of thing. You know who Angel Reese is, Nick?
A swimmer?
No, she's a basketball player. She's like Caitlin Clark's big rival. Caitlin Clark's the
okay. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
The flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark.
No, that was Angel Reese is the teammate of the woman who did the flagrant foul.
Okay.
But what happened was Angel Reese and her team had another issue during this game the other day, and I made a comment about how come there's always this drama that's always surrounding Angel Reese. Well, then I start getting all these people jumping on saying, you know, that you're a racist and he can't help himself. It's in his DNA. You know, all white people are racist and that sort of thing. And I'm supposed to sit there and take that? No.
I love that you describe this as a Twitter conversation. Sounds like the usual comment section arguing, but yeah.
No, but so, you know, at first I was taking the high road, and eventually it got to the point where I told them all to fuck off and that sort of thing. But they just assumed right away that because I made a comment that was negative towards Angel Reese and I was a white person, that I automatically had to be racist. Not because I'm noticing that there's a female basketball player who seems to be involved in all of these various problems, not just with one team, but with other teams as well. And so you know what I mean? That's how I'm coming at it from. But it comes back to what you're saying. At what point is it okay for you to say to somebody, I've got a problem with that if they're not white?
I would tend to agree that just because somebody's an asshole of a different ethnicity doesn't mean you can't call them out. Now, obviously, if you start yelling things based on their ethnicity, then you're the asshole.
That's completely different. That's
exactly.
Completely different. Yeah.
But yes, so on this topic of when to be racially sensitive or not, how do you know if you're exerting white privilege versus just calling a jerk a jerk because they're being a jerk? Like,
yeah,
I have this article here that it talks about phrases that seem harmless but reinforce white privilege, and I'm curious to know if we agree. And by the way,
minefield, dude.
It is. And I know it said white privilege with some sarcasm there, but that's because not everything is white privilege. I get that white people do have some level of privilege. In other words, our ethnicity is never held against us at job interviews or on a bank loan application. Like, it's not that we get approved for the job or the bank loan because we're white. It's that we don't get those things held against us. Can we all agree? That's basically what white privilege is.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So, here are some phrases that, I don't know, some of these, like this first one here, I've heard a lot of people say this coming from a very good place. They say, I don't see color. While this phrase is often meant to express equality, it's dismissive of the experiences of people of color.
I'm not supposed to not see you. I'm supposed to not treat you differently because of what I see, but I'm supposed to see color and celebrate color and your culture and everything else. I feel like that's dismissive, and I have said it before, and I had somebody tell me this a long time ago, but to see color is not a bad thing. It's how you treat color.
But again, though, it all comes down to context and the person and how they're saying it. Like if you don't know somebody, this is the first time you're meeting them, or you've only met them a handful of times, then you don't really know who they are and how they're speaking. But if it's somebody you know and they say, I don't see color, you know that they don't mean it as in being dismissive. You know that means that they see it as equality and that sort of thing. So it really depends on the person that you're having the conversation with.
This comes back to something we talked about an episode or two ago, where I said, I can't say something homophobic because I'm not a homophobe. I can say something ignorant or insensitive, but it's not homophobic because that's not my intention. So I think that most white people, when they say I don't see color, their intention of saying that is I'm treating everyone equally here. Like good or bad, I'm just treating everyone. I don't see color. I get what you're saying too, though. Like, well, you're being dismissive of my color then, because maybe I'm more sensitive on this topic because of my ethnicity. Like intentions are good, but it can blow up.
Intentions are good, and I think that intentions can remain good if you are a person who listens, because if a person of color tells me, hey, I don't want you to not see me as different, like I want you to celebrate my differences, and I'm proud of where I come from and who I am. If I'm told that, then it becomes my responsibility to carry forward in that manner. You know what I mean? I think you get one or two, or if you're actively trying to work it out and become better, how you speak to people, stuff like that, then I think intent is real. But it can't be one of those things where like, oh, I say dick things that a lot of people feel are dicky, but I have good intent, so I can keep saying them. Right. Like if you're corrected on it, like you should change it, right?
And Brewski, you bring up a good point, because if I was talking to that guy at the stands, the Latino father that stood up, and I said, hey man, I don't see color, that guy doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. He has no idea what my intentions are.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess you got to be smart about when you say it. If your intentions are good, be smart enough to know there's some scenarios where you're going to sound like a dick saying that.
Know your audience.
That's right.
We always hear people say that. Know your audience.
Read the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, here's this next example. I think this is something that a lot of white people try to say, hey, my intentions are good, but I actually call bullshit on you. And that is all lives matter. Not black lives matter. All lives matter.
Oh, my God.
I hate it, dude.
Where were you saying this when there were black citizens who were getting killed by police officers? You weren't out protesting when George Floyd and other folks were getting murdered by police. If you really believed that all lives mattered, then you would have been out protesting with everybody else when that happened.
Well, what they're really trying to say is white people matter too. If we get killed, like white people, we matter too. Right?
Hey, dude, some things go without saying. Black Lives Matter is not saying that white lives don't matter. It's making a point that Black Lives matter when they haven't seemed to have mattered for a long time.
And there's a particular issue with Black lives going on.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like you can't say all lives matter. Like something is bad inside of you. If your first inclination is like, well, yeah, but I matter too. Like it just goes to show that you don't have a lot of compassion to somebody who's going through something, whether or not you've gone through anything in your lifetime. Right now, I'm saying that, oh man, this just happened to me and I want you to acknowledge me without acknowledging yourself. Like, isn't that genuine at that point to say, yeah, Black Lives Matter?
Yes. And speaking of being genuine, I'll let you off the hook for your all lives matter bullshit. Only if, when you see somebody wearing like a pink ribbon for breast cancer awareness, if you go up to them and say, hey man, all cancers matter. Why are we just focusing on breast cancer? All cancers matter.
Yeah, you never hear it. You'll never hear it because it's not a personal. You're not feeling personally attacked. When you feel personally attacked by someone saying we matter, you got to take a look inside yourself, is my opinion. But
we can zoom in. There's a problem with breast cancer. It's okay to focus on that. It's like saying save the whales. Doesn't mean fuck the other animals. It just means we got a problem with the whales. We want to draw it.
Yeah, please.
These are a list of things that sound harmless, but they say reinforce white privilege. I disagreed with one. I think we agree with the second one here. This third one it's common. I think I just almost referenced it as a matter of fact. The whole, like, I don't want to be rude, but when people say, hey, I'm not racist, but I've noticed all black people do this. Like,
Right. Yeah.
can you ever say I'm not racist and follow it with something that isn't racist or ignorant, best case scenario?
If you are racist, it will have some, micro racism, whatever. You have something inside of you that has some racism in it. If you follow that with a but, I mean, there is no but.
Yes.
You are or you aren't.
You know you're about to be racist. That's why you feel the need to say that.
Yes. You're saying, will you excuse us real quick? Will you excuse this behavior? I'm going to say something racist, but please excuse it because normally I'm not racist. But,
all right, moving down the list here. Things that sound harmless, but reinforce white privilege. I have said this before in defense of America to conservative MAGA idiots that are upset about increasing numbers of minorities that, that's what America is. We're supposed to welcome everyone. America is a melting pot.
that's right.
Apparently, that can be taken the other way. The phrase "America is a melting pot," often used to describe the ethnic and cultural diversities within America, it can celebrate diversity, or it can imply assimilation rather than valuing individual cultures and identities. That by being a melting pot, you should conform to what most of us are doing. I've never taken it that way, so that gets back to intent again.
Yeah, I mean, I never would have thought about it the way you just read it as like, I'm taking away your identity. I've never meant it that way. I've said that before. It's a melting pot of people.
Yeah.
And
I don't take that to mean, though, that we're all supposed to be on the same level. We're all supposed to enjoy baseball. Like, it means a melting pot, meaning there's diversity of everything, and that's good. I don't think it means to boil it down.
No, exactly. Because you think about all the flavors that are coming together. That's why we still do have restaurants of different cuisines from around the world and that sort of thing, because you're not asking everybody to conform and have the same tastes and that sort of thing.
I understand what they're saying with what you read. I mean, I guess you could take it as we all melt into just one being and assimilate. I've never taken it that way. I mean, I guess if it bothers people, I will try and stop using it. But yeah, I've never taken it that way.
Yeah. Intention again, I guess. But that's a weird interpretation of it. Because like we said, melting pot to me means we value the diversity, not that we're trying to melt it down so we're all the same. But I don't know. One last phrase I'll throw out, and then I'll put it over to you, Nick, for your list here. Again, the headline here says these are common phrases that reinforce white privilege. I have never said this. I would never do it, nor do I think this is a common phrase. When anyone says to an African-American, "Can I touch your hair?"
Oh.
Can you touch your hair?
You've never
fucking say that.
But have you ever seen anybody do it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it happens quite frequently. That, I'll tell you this, that I've seen it a lot, and especially because my family's in the hair industry, stuff like that. There is a lot they're usually older, middle-aged white women who will, at a hair show or something, see a black person that's wearing an afro or cornrows or something like that and talk about, first of all, you're not supposed to technically comment on a black person's hair, but you're definitely not supposed to ask if you can touch their hair. It's almost like they're an alien and you just want to touch their hair. It gives off a really racist vibe to it when you do that. So, yeah, I've never asked to touch anyone's hair, but I've seen it.
Wouldn't that be like going up to a fat person and being, "Can I touch your belly? I hear Santa's got a belly that, like a bowl full of jelly. Can I touch your belly?" Like, yeah. Brewski, is there any level of can I touch somebody for any reason that's a stranger?
I've probably seen hot chicks, so I might want to,
Can I touch your tits?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yes.
I promise not to squeeze or I promise not to linger or anything like that. Just
I'll use the back of my hand like TSA. Is it okay?
I don't know. I mean,
that one seems obvious to me. I mean, doesn't it to you?
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. This article, common phrase. I don't think that's common. I mean,
I don't think that's common at all.
I have seen it, but no. This started off with the Karens versus the minority shithead little teenagers and white privilege and when should you say things and not. And are you a bad person? Are you a crazy person?
Oh, we always talk about like that MAGA crowd. Like, are these people just crazy and difficult, or do they actually have personality disorders? Are they actually mental? That's what my list talks about, is some of these things that you thought, oh, this is just a difficult person. You've heard people say, and I hate this excuse. Well, we've talked about it on the show before. That's just Steve. Nah, and excuse the bad behavior. Like, that's just Steve, man. Come on.
Yeah.
So is this person difficult, or do they have a personality disorder? The first thing on this list talks about they have, this is an obvious one. They have family members with personality disorder. That stuff, I want to say it's contagious, I mean, and I mean that.
Talking clinically diagnosed personality disorders, or you just come from a family of assholes?
No. This talks about medical experts defining an actual personality disorder, and they do that by 3 clusters known as Group A, B, and C. These groups may share overlapping symptoms, but others are unique to the individual cluster. However, a genetic history of personality disorders is common in all of them. So whatever way you identify in your personality disorder, it's common that this is genetic.
How do I know that, though? That's the problem. Because there are some of these Karen getting arrested by cop videos that I love, where about halfway through the video, I start to realize, like, I don't think this Karen is an asshole. I think there's a mental health issue going on here. Yeah. And then I start to almost feel a little bad for them that, yeah, they're spouting off, but this person has an actual mental problem. But you don't know that unless they're wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, or a medical bracelet. I don't know. Maybe you should put something on. You always hear people say that, like, even if you had a shitty childhood, like, I'm not going to let you pass on just becoming an asshole because you had a hard life. You know what I mean? You've heard people say that.
Your past is no excuse to be a dick in the present.
Right. And that is very true to a certain degree. Obviously, if you have interpersonal relationships with somebody who's struggling with some of that stuff, like, you help them through it. But, like, just in life in general, like, we all sign this social contract that this is how you treat people. This is how we're supposed to act towards each other.
But at the same time, though, you would acknowledge that there are some people that have been through some horrific things that have deeply affected them. And from that trauma, they may actually have some sort of breakdown, some sort of mental breakdown. I mean, and it's difficult to parse out who has had that and who isn't. But if you know somebody's backstory, sometimes you're like, after all that person's been through, and they're good. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%, dude.
You're blown away by like how amazing they are because of everything they've been through.
Yes, yeah,
no, for sure. That takes knowing their backstory. Some of these public encounters, it's really difficult. And again, in these Karen cop videos I've been watching, a lot of them disingenuously, halfway through getting arrested, start screaming like, "I have PTSD. I have anxiety issues. Men can't touch me. I have Tourette's. That's why I was swearing. I have Tourette's." Like,
right.
And the smart cops will ask them, "Are you being treated for that disorder? Or are you on medication?" And if the woman says, "Yes, I'm on medication," then they say, "Well, then that shouldn't be an issue. You're going to jail." And if they say, "No, I'm not on medication," then they say, "Well, you should be getting treated, and this isn't my fault." Doesn't excuse your public behavior.
Right. So
how do you know? A lot of these people getting arrested nowadays scream, "I can't breathe." And they can clearly breathe. They're taking a real excuse away from people that may actually have a disorder or may actually not be able to breathe. When everyone screams these things at cops, how do the cops know who's really has a disorder, who really can't breathe?
It's the boy who cried wolf, dude. And it is. I mean, it's turning into that.
Exactly. It's buzzwords that they think will get them out of that situation, but they're just cheapening it for anyone who's really having that problem.
Yes. Next one. This is something that people should think about. And I know that we have all met people like this or may have these people in our lives, but it's something to think about. That the headline is, they're always suspicious of people without cause. You may have known somebody like this, and a lot of time this is, goes right in and rolls and keeps snowballing into conspiracy theory, stuff like that. But it happens in your personal life too. Paranoia, companies many personality disorders. So it might explain why someone you know is always suspicious of other people. They don't even need a legitimate reason to feel that way. Suspicion feels often self-protecting to them. So it becomes an instinct rather than a reaction. Have you met people that act this way?
Absolutely. It's the Trump thing. They're projecting whatever they're coming at you about is what they're worried they're either going to do to you or have done before. The best example in my life was the Hindenburg. She was always coming at me like, are you cheating on me? Who are you talking to? Who are you messaging? Where's all your money going? Where's it? These were things that she has done and would eventually do to me. And I realized I always laughed it off of like, I'll show you who I'm talking to. It's my sister. Or you want to see my bank statement? I'm not hiding money. Like I always kind of laughed it off as like, I'm not doing these things. So what do I care? I didn't see what a gigantic red flag it was coming my way, like a freaking freight train that these like Trump, they're pushing their things onto you. And you should just know when people accuse you of specific things, it's because they have done or will do it to you.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. It's funny because, well, it's about my wife, and I don't think that this is necessarily the same, but it just goes to show that, like we were discussing earlier, things can be branded into you with a traumatic past. I remember when my wife and I first started dating that, there were times her and my mom kind of started getting close. Well, my mom would call her on the phone, and I know that there were times where I was with Rachel. She'd look at her phone and see that my mom was calling and, talk to her, and she'd get off the phone and she'd be like, what's her angle? Why is she calling me? What's her angle? That's what she grew up with. If you called her, you wanted something from her. What's your angle? You're not just calling to see how you are or stuff like that, so it really can get branded into you, but there's different levels like the doctor was talking about.
It's all projection, whether your intentions are good or you were the victim or not, you're still projecting. So.
How about they rarely put their full trust in people? I've met people in my life I know that I'm just like, boy, for the most part, I got a pretty good meter. I usually trust people up front. And then if you give me a reason not to trust you, then I won't. But I never start out just not trusting people. And I definitely have met people that I think, why doesn't he trust me? Like, why is he always questioning me?
This is an interesting concept that I've talked a lot about in therapy. The trust has to be earned. But you should start off at some sort of 0 point. You shouldn't be untrusting of somebody right away, but you shouldn't just immediately give them the benefit of the doubt either. They have to build up a certain level of trust, but they should start at 0, right? And either go up or down from there. Yeah. And it's a big indication of what kind of person you are. If you're assuming the worst, you're assuming they're going to go bad. I know a young woman in this world who has a new boyfriend, and the new boyfriend is already texting her like, where are you tonight? You're out with your friends? Where are your priorities? How come you're not out with me? And I was just like, girl, red flag, get the hell away from that dude. Like, this ain't going anywhere good. He's not concerned about you. What is he doing on the Saturday night? Why is he pushing all this on you immediately? You just started dating? You kidding me?
Why are his biggest insecurities flopping out right now? Because he's done them. Okay.
And I made this mistake. That's the Hindenburg mistake. And so I was trying to come from a place of like, I've seen this before. I discounted it, but there's a giant red flag going on with that guy. Whether it's a personality disorder, he's just an asshole. Red flag.
Personality disorder or just a difficult person when they act totally cold toward everyone they meet. People talk about encountering a cold person. They'll likely keep their distance. Cold individuals aren't easy to talk to. They might make you uncomfortable even. This attitude drives people away, which causes a suspicious or paranoid mindset in people with personality disorder.
Brewski, is that being introverted or is that a personality disorder, or can it be one or the other or something else?
No, I actually had a coworker years ago who never smiled, and he was really cold at all times. And he actually said one time, I think smiling is a waste of time. And,
another t-shirt idea.
Right. Exactly.
And did he turn out to be a serial killer or something?
No, but I lasted working with him for about a month before his bullshit wore on me and that sort of thing. But he was really icy at all times. Like you couldn't get anything. And this guy was a supervisor. And this guy, I mean, you could hit all your sales goals and he'd just be like, okay. But then no reaction at all. Just cold. He had these like squinty eyes all the time, and
yeah, red flag then for him, right?
Yeah, I thought so. And also, he was a former cop.
He backed into parking spots.
You tell him he used to pay a salary? Did that help?
No, I didn't. No, because I never lived in Essex County. So,
Oh, good. All right.
Steve and I used to work with a guy that was really cold, and he said things like, "Hello, Steve." I mean,
It still makes my spine tingle.
yeah. But this guy was cold. I hate being around cold people. I think everybody would rather have somebody warm in front of them, but it's almost like a drug to me. I crave that. So if you're cold, it really skeeves me out. I don't want to be around you.
My only hesitation on this one is the introvert thing I brought up, because I'm personally introverted. I'm professionally extroverted. I can turn on the charm. I can be the life of the party if I want to be. But normally I'm just a little more quiet, a little more refined. I'm not cold to people. If they come and talk to me, I'll engage with them, but I am quiet usually. And so how do you distinguish between somebody who's cold and somebody who's shy or introverted?
I think if you have the ability, then that's one thing, that you can turn it on. Cold people don't turn it on. They're just cold. And I think part of that comes with, what are you trying to protect yourself from? It probably comes from a mental disorder or a troubled past, just don't want to trust people on cold.
It's also how they stand, their posture, their body language.
Yeah.
It's the unspoken things that convey that they're a cold person.
I think you got to test the waters. Go talk to the quiet person. If they're cold and dickish, then they're cold. But if you talking to them, if they, have some level of civility and warmth, then they're probably just shy.
I've also seen people, dude, that are cold in a room of people, but if you go up and have some one-on-one, they have the ability to be warmer to one person, and that's probably an introvert. How about people that think other people are all out to get them? This describes the MAGA crowd, right? People are out to get us in every angle, every place. We're not safe anywhere.
Yeah, I really don't know where that comes from. There's some level of paranoid people that would certainly feel that way. But if you're living a decent life, you're doing your thing, but you're like these MAGA people that just think everyone's out to get me, like that is some sort of disorder.
Yeah. A person with severe paranoia may develop a firm belief that people are always out to get them. Everything becomes proof that they have to push people away. It could lead to behaviors that make them seem difficult, but a person that has severe paranoia when they think everyone's out to get them.
May also just be someone who's been paying attention in life for the last 10, 20 years. There are so many assholes in this world that, it's easy to assume the worst of other people.
Haven't you ever met somebody, though, that thinks that about themselves, about people out to get them? And you say to yourself, stop flattering yourself. Nobody thinks that much of you. Just stop already.
A lot of the time you'll see people that are victims act like that. Like, everyone's out to get me. I don't know. I just can't get anywhere in life. Everyone's out to get me.
Yeah.
No, it's a shortcoming, probably based on their past or the fact that they love Trump. And you should avoid both those people.
This is interesting that it was even made the list, people that prefer spending time alone. And I'll read you what it says, because I don't completely believe this. Introverted people recharge their social batteries with a bit more alone time after socializing with extroverted people. That's absolutely fine. But eventually, even the most introverted person returns to socialize with family members or their best friends. People with personality disorders may never willingly engage because they don't trust anyone.
So that's interesting. I think you could probably accuse all three of us of being introverted. None of us have huge friend circles. We're not out partying all the time, but we're all good to our friends and to our family. Like, we all are warm and engaging with each other, or if you're at Thanksgiving with family. So,
so what you're saying is no mental illness, right?
Yeah, not in that category. I think all three of us are a little mental.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right.
That's a fact.
All right. It's been certified. How about this next one? They only show a handful of emotions. This one freaks me out with people. I'm an emotional person, overly emotional, some people might say. But when people can't draw their different emotions, it freaks me out. I don't like it. I don't like for people to not have control of taking their emotions and letting them out in whatever way it might happen. But if you just have a couple of different emotions, mad, sad, angry, love, like if you're that simple, I think you're a little psycho.
Are you talking like close friends and family or coworkers you don't really know very well? I mean, where's the line?
If I hang around with you and we have enough interaction, like even coworkers, I want to be able to see you process emotions on a spectrum. I don't want just a couple, mad, sad.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
My list of friends are short, and the three of us have known each other for a lot of years where we've seen each other go through ups and downs. So it's easier to see the shades of emotions with us. But my buddy Brian here in town, I've known him for a few years. I've only ever really seen the guy just be happy in a good mood. I'm sure he goes home and deals with his own demons, but when we're interacting, he's pretty much got one mode. He's just a friendly, upbeat guy. Is that a red flag?
You've seen him pissed, though. You've seen him experience that emotion. You've experienced him think something is sad and feel bad for it.
A little bit, but that's in a conversational way where he's like, no, that the thing that woman did to you really did upset me. But he's not like slamming his fist, and I've never seen that rage, or I've never seen him cry, or like.
I get what you're saying.
You have to see,
I think you just have to be able to see someone, be able to draw from all those emotions. They don't have to cry in front of me, but I do have to be able to hear them say, like, God, it crushed me, or it made me sad. Like, I have to know that you have capability.
What about that coworker, though, you do see come unhinged? We're like, holy shit, what is that? That's not good.
We wait for him to blow, dude, and when he does, we're like, oof, boy. We didn't want that to come. Well, we've seen that with Brewski before. I saw that with Brewski once when he freaked out. Remember Brewski? I was like, oh, Brewski, man, I don't like to see you like that. It makes me very sad.
And that was at Freddy's Club in Tacoma 5 area.
Yeah, we were at a station event for the vocal minority, and we're driving out of that place in the station van. Bruce is doing donuts, and I'm just freaking out like, dude, we're you can. And I think you challenged me to fight or something. Or I was like,
Probably sounds about right. It sounds about right.
Steve and Brewski have had their share of square ups, but that's what I'm talking about, dude. I mean, you don't have to cry in front of me, but to know that you have a beating heart and you feel life's emotions is a good thing.
Yeah, okay. For sure. And Bruce, you're from Boston, so I expect a range of anger emotions out of you.
Well, I mean.
How about they hold on to grudges longer than most people? What do you feel? That's a personality disorder or just a difficult person?
That's a great question that I've struggled with. I feel that to some extent you have to hold a grudge for some amount of time, or you're just a pushover that lets people walk all over you all the time. Now, if you're harboring revenge fantasies for years and this is something weighing on you forever, like, obviously that's too far. But I also don't think I could be that person that stood up in court with the guy that murdered my kid and say, I forgive you. Like, I'm going to let this grudge go. So I don't know what the right answer is. I think you got to hold a grudge for a little bit, but not forever. But there's got to be some scenarios where it's normal to never forgive that person.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's a tough one. Trying to take in everything you just said. Like, I do understand that about, on one level, I can't imagine myself forgiving somebody for killing a family member or something like that. But on another level, like, I understand through therapy, like, maybe I have to do that because I'm just going to be an angry son of a bitch for the rest of my life. So I understand it, but it's not easy.
That's the problem. That anger festers inside of you. And I have reached a point in therapy where I have decided I have to let some things just go. Like, it's never getting resolved. It's just eating away at me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't get to there immediately because I don't think that's processing emotions correctly to have somebody fuck you over and then just be like, all right, I'm done. I'm over. It's cool. Like, there's some window there, but holding on forever, like, some of them you gotta let go, but I don't know, forgive but not forget. Maybe that's the correct answer on some things.
Too soon, I don't think it's genuine. Like, if I just say, like, okay, I'm over it, it's fine. And chances are that's going to spark back up, Yeah. What about, they suspect every partner is unfaithful to them. Obviously, that's a difficult person that's experienced some kind of trauma in their relationships, but could it be a mental disorder? Maybe so. That's what this says.
I don't know what mental disorder that would be other than like acute paranoia or something, but usually people that are worried you're going to cheat on them have cheated on someone else before. Some have been cheated on and they're gun shy about that, but again, my experience, when someone's worried about you cheating on them, it's because they're going to cheat on you at some point.
This is, unfortunately, many people know what it's like to discover their partner cheating on them. It's natural to keep that experience in mind when you're looking for red flags in a new relationship, like possessiveness over your time or social plans, stuff like that. Someone with an undiagnosed personality disorder may not even need someone to cheat on them to suspect unfaithful acts because their condition makes them paranoid in every aspect of their life. And this is just one of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have like acute paranoia, then I guess. But most people don't. And certainly most people don't have that diagnosed. So I don't know how much slack you should be giving them.
How do you feel about people that get extremely angry when minor slights occur?
It's justified, and all you fuckers should stop doing it to me.
But that's called, that could be a personality disorder. That's anger management, obviously.
Yes. No, listen, anger, as I've learned in therapy, is a normal human emotion, and we all are going to experience it. The question is, what do you do with that anger, and how quickly do you get to angry? You know, I was talking in therapy the other day where something was making me, I said, like, I don't want to say it's making me angry because that's not what I feel. I feel frustration. And my shrink said, well, frustration is usually the first step of anger. So what are you doing with it now? Where's it going? How far are you going to let it fester? You going to get to angry? So there are shades of that are perfectly acceptable. But somebody who goes from 0 to 60 right away, yeah, that's not okay. It's not cool.
Yeah, can't do it. It's a personality disorder. As we wind this list down, gentlemen, there's always one funny thing on this list that I'm like, why the fuck is that on this list? I'll just read the title to you again. We don't have to discuss it. But this was a list of signs someone isn't just difficult. They have a personality disorder. This is called... they respond to voices no one else can hear. Like, come on, dude. That is obviously a personality disorder. That's not a difficult person.
That's funny. That's like, yes, if they're on antipsychotic medicines, are they a personality disorder? Yeah. Obviously, if you're hearing voices. Now, that's not your inner monologue, by the way. I've got a healthy inner monologue going. I talk to myself all day. I hear you guys in my head. I hear Kennedy in my head. I have people part of my inner monologue, but that is completely different than hearing independent voices talking to you inside your head.
God, remember when you discovered that some people don't have an internal monologue?
I don't buy it. I read an article put out by some psychology magazine that said something like 96% of the population has an internal monologue, which means roughly 5% do not. I don't believe it. How can you decide anything in your day? You're telling me hungry, hamburger, hungry, tired, like you don't debate anything. I'm hungry. Do I want pizza? Do I want to you don't have any debate inside your head. You're fucking schizophrenic or psychotic. If you
or a vegetable.
Right. If you just go from thought to action, just there's no debate in your head. How could you? I don't see how you live that way. That's impossible.
The only thing you should not be debating is whether or not you come to our webpage, you listen to our podcast, you check our social medias, do all those things, right?
Right. I would argue we are everyone's internal monologue. We are saying the things you're all thinking. We're talking about the things you care about. So if you don't have it, listen to us religiously and we'll decide for you. Okay. 2
podcasts each and every week. TheVocalMinority.net. And you can call our comment line. What's the phone number you say?
844-48-VOCAL. There are letters on the keypad, even on a smartphone. You spell out VOCAL and call us. And social media sites. We're on all the good ones, and we post fun stuff. So help promote the show. If you've ever found anything interesting, funny, humorous, relatable, whatever, help spread the word, por favor.
Brewski, if you would, please.
Ahoy!
And we say bye-bye.
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Nick Reynolds, Steve Harness, and Cousin Brewski. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Take 1.
It's a phenomenon.